Good afternoon, and welcome to H3 TV, where I come to meet you every week to talk about disruption and storms and interruptions in our life and how we deal with them with hope, health, and happiness. I love having different guests share their ideas and strategies to help you face whatever disruption you're facing so we can navigate with positivity. It is quite a week here in Fort Myers Beach. I am at the condo this week, and tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of our hurricane. And I did not anticipate that I would be here this week and feel a bit anxious as I remember. And this week has had a few stormy days already. But I was invited to do a book signing of Choose to Soar tomorrow at the Fort Myers Beach Revival Reunion, where we honor the lives lost and we celebrate the lives survived from the hurricane. And so I am at the beach greeting you. I will be on San Carlos all day tomorrow signing books, and also at Mojo's on Friday morning, and at Diamond Head Friday afternoon signing Choose to Soar. And when I wrote that book, the hope was that it would help you soar through whatever storm you are going through in life. We all face disruptions, storms, and interruptions. Some we choose to move or to switch careers. Some we don't choose, death and diagnosis and hurricanes that come toward us. And so my hope is that I can come to you with encouragement, ideas, and kindness, and bring in wise guests to share their wisdom to help you navigate through your disruptions in life. Today, I have a new friend named Sam joining me. Please help me welcome Sam to the stage. Hey, Sam, thanks for being with me.
Hey, Annie, good to see you again.
Good to have you. So tell us about you. Who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? All the good stuff.
Oh, thanks, Annie. So I'm Sam Eaton. I run a company called Mindability. We're business coaches for the HR profession. And I have a fundamental belief that those in the people consultancy space, their voices need to be heard and amplified, and to be able to build a successful business on their terms. I've chosen this career path because actually I haven't been very good in my personal life. Rubbish, in fact. And that's where I think you and I have got things in common, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly. But I wanted to make a difference and have impact. Yes, of course, I'm running a business, but my why is my husband. I'm very fortunate that I found Clint after losing a partner very dramatically and tragically a few years ago. We now live in the UK, but Anna, you and I met in the States last week at an event, and I go between the UK and the States frequently.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, nice to meet you. Get to know you a little bit. So yeah, that's one of the first things I want to think about, Sam. And you already implied that you had a major disruption. And I'm just curious, is there, when you think of the word disruption, when your life has been disrupted, is there a professional, personal, or literal, or all three that come to mind for you?
Definitely personal. I've like you talked about last week, I've really come on a journey. I've been through an abusive marriage. I was treated with PTSD. I then met a beautiful man who went out one day and literally dropped dead. There's no other way to explain it. That's what happened. Took motherhood away from me at the same time. And I've always naturally been a fighter, but so much good, ironically, came out of so much that was so awful. So for me, disruption is very, very much in my personal life, and I've learned to turn it into a positive. In my work life, actually, disruption is positive because disruption means change, and it can mean such positive change.
Yes. If we stay open, right? Stay open to that.
Yes.
I appreciate you sharing. And I always think about, when I'm being interviewed or people ask me, Annie, are you successful? What does that look like? Or how did you get so successful? And I'm like, let me first define success for you, because
Yeah.
success is having a healthy relationship with my husband is a huge part of success. Having raised 3 children to adulthood, they have their own challenges and successes, but they made it, right? Like, let alone our careers. And so having you find success in a relationship, because you're right. Work is disruption, it's change, it's interruption, and life is. So when you think of this disruption in your personal life, pretty dramatic, leaving an abusive relationship for an amazing man, and then him dropping dead. I've met so many young widows in my journey as a speaker. It's my heart goes out to people that bury so many people so young, from my brother to a spouse to a child. We hear people. So when you went through that really dark time of, and especially when it comes off, we have a dream, right? I dreamed of living at the beach. You dreamed of finding a good, kind man. And then that shatters so quickly. How did you stay hopeful in the midst of that loss?
There was so much going on at the time. We weren't married. We had huge challenges with his family, my partner's family who died. I've always been quite a stoic individual, and I was back to work within a month. Probably not the best thing to have done. I think where my hope came from was a conversation with someone 6 weeks after he died, and in the middle of a field near the office where I was. And I suddenly realized the conversation as such really helped me realize I want to make a difference. I've been very fortunate with my career, with being able to build businesses, and now doing that for other people. But at that moment, it was, what do I do? And it was like this huge energy, and it was a ball of fire. And I can still feel it between my hands to this day, which was, what do I do with it? What do I now do with this?
Yes.
And I think so many people, when I work with them, say, you're different to any other business coach. You really care. You see me. You're not putting me through a process, because that fire is still in my hands today. And that's what I chose to do with it. I looked at my personal life and I thought, Clint's my third husband. I'm not proud. I'm not ashamed. It's what it is. But, I will jokingly say I make Joan Collins look good, right? No offense to her, of course. But, a life coach of what? I've been through so much, but it doesn't make me an expert. But this I can help people with.
Yeah. You said a bunch of things in there. And I also was going to let you share more of your story if you'd like, but you said you shouldn't have gone back to work, which I always think never should on yourself. That was the right thing at the right time, right? And probably going back to work gave you a moment of stability in a very unstable time, right? And when we grieve someone, a dramatic and a sudden loss, and then we don't have the support of the people around it, it's another disruption. So first you're grieving the loss of someone you love, and then you have his family saying, well, wait a minute. And you're like, wait, this is my love. And I don't think anyone gets to judge and decide that. I also think a beautiful thing you said, Sam, and I think this is why you and I connected right away, is that I genuinely care. When I get off the stage, when I get done working with a coaching client, they'll go, you actually mean what you say. And as you're saying, your clients relate to you because you're not just doing the job and putting them through your system. You really care about them as a professional, but also as an individual, right? Their professional and personal side. And I think that probably makes you a gifted coach, a gifted consultant that can work with them. Now, you said you're stoic, and I don't even know you, but I met you last week, and I thought, oh, she's just delightful. She's a light, she's joy, she's energy. And as you talk about this fire, for me, that's the passion that I try to teach people. We all have fire. Some shows up in our belly, our back, and in our hands. But it's what we do with that passion. Because you can curl up in a ball right now with a blanket. Feel sorry for yourself the rest of your life and do nothing. And honestly, nobody would blame you. They'd think, holy cow, she's already been through a lot. I get it. But you have decided to take those wounds, those disruptions, and turn them into something beautiful. So the next two things I want to ask you is, if you want to share more about Clint and your story or where you're at now, please do. And second, how did you stay healthy in the midst of that? Because sometimes in a disruption, we do curl up in a blanket and dive into depression, which will always sit side by side with us if we let it. So how did you stay healthy? And do you want to tell us more about Clint and your love story?
Oh, thank you. Well, I think, I'll answer that first question. How did I stay healthy? I didn't sleep very well. I had some great friends who are now in Arizona who would phone me every night. We were planning the funeral. So I literally lived off radishes, avocado, chips, or we call them crisps, and wine. And do you know what? That was good. That was good for about a month. It got me through. But I did walk, and I think that helped a lot. Walking and swimming has always been my jam, my thing. You know, water for me, being on it, in it, or under it is is my solace. It's where I really find that peace for me and my thinking time. So, you know, it's something that, you know, even today when life is great, I'm very blessed to have met a fabulous man and married him, and he's a huge support and my why now. I know I have to be very proactive with looking after me, the exercise, the walking, the time to think and process and be peaceful, because I'm, you know, I'm all go, I'm all action, so I know I'm my own worst enemy.
Yeah.
So I really have to work on that one. But yeah, I was very fortunate with Clint. I had a couple of great girlfriends, and I'd moved after my previous partner died, and you know, they kept saying, Sam, you're not the kind of person to be by yourself. You know, you're making a cracking job of it. And we, you know, new area, new people, everything else, but try dating. Anyway, I was nagged so much. I thought one night, I know, I'll go on to Bumble. You know, that dating app that's only for women. So I thought, oh, brilliant. You know, I'm not going to meet anyone there, right? Not going to meet anyone there. So the first night I went on there, and yes, I'd been on a couple of other dates, but I was done, right? I was done. I was happy with life, you know, very self-sufficient. I'm good. The thing I need to crack was learning to go on holiday by myself, which ironically I now travel a lot by myself. So I've cracked that one. Anyway, going back to the story, I then so I went on to Bumble, and I sat there watching my favorite TV program on a Friday, and I was swiping, and then this face came up. And I was all excited, and what do I do next? And oh my goodness. And I had to meet him. So, you know, we had a series of phone calls, which went on for hours. We met for a Sunday lunch, and the rest, as they say, is history. So, you know, this year will be our second wedding anniversary. And you know, he's an absolute joy, and yeah, very, very fortunate.
I love that. I forgot to say, if our listeners have questions or comments for Samurai, please feel free to put them in the chat or to leave them later, and we will both respond to anything you want to ask. I want to remind you, Sam, actually, I think you were healthy as I listened to you, because even though I was a gym owner for 12 years, I know that nutrition and movement are only part of health. There's a lot of areas of health. And one of the things you said that I think was really healthy and great for our listeners is you connected. People called and checked on you. You had friends. And I think being in our lone, I always say when people are depressed or going through a severe disruption, really your worst enemy is yourself, because your head can amplify. Things will never get better. I didn't deserve this. What happened? This isn't fair. This isn't right. I'm going to be sad. Poor me. Oh my gosh, I'm the only one that feels this way. Nobody. But when we get out of our own self and somebody calls and says, how are you doing? What are you doing? And I kind of love dating apps. I've never gotten to use them. I was telling someone this morning, I really want to get on a dating app, but my daughter and my husband thinks that it's a bad idea, but it just seems like a fun game to me. But I think I'm not saying it's a game. I recognize people are single and use it, but just you getting out of your head and looking at pictures, even if you're like, I'm done, all of a sudden you were given this gift of a beautiful face that spoke to you. It spoke to your heart, and it said, what if? What if there's more? What if I could have a conversation? Plus, I want to encourage you, because you ate avocados, which I have to talk myself into eating because they're very good for you. They're very healthy. So I love that you had avocados and you had friends. And sometimes health isn't everything, it's something. And I believe so much so that my medicine cabinet, that movement, it doesn't matter if I don't feel like it, doesn't matter if I don't want to, going for those walks for you was part of your healing, was part of your releasing the grief of losing someone you love and the enormous pain of not being supported by his family in the midst of this loss, which doubles down on the pain. And so even I always want to encourage our listeners, it doesn't have to be, I went to the gym for 2 hours and I ate a salad. It can be, I got out of bed and took a shower. I went for a little walk. I had an avocado instead of a Snickers. All of those little things are wins. So be gentle with yourself and kind to yourself as you celebrate those good things. So I love that you're a newlywed, 2 years in, very exciting. Very, very exciting. So how did you find happiness? Maybe not even in the disruption, but as you moved out of it, where did you find a smile and a laughter again? Because I think in the little bit I know about you, you are smiling. You're not stoic. You do have the spirit that's alive and that wants to not only care for yourself, but pour out of you to support other people. So how did you find your smile and your laughter again? And where did you look for it?
And it was really interesting you asked that. Just after he died, I obviously, and it came to the funeral, and I've still got it somewhere today. I was determined that I was going to read his eulogy. So I put it together, and one in the thing, and during it, I remember I said, to every pavement warrior, to everyone out there, the smile to the girl at the checkout, the good morning to the person you walk past, it's where I first coined, and it's, I call it mine, it's not, but I really felt, find your joy. Because it's so easy, isn't it, just to ignore someone. It's so easy to be that person that blames everyone else. And actually, my huge empowerment of me came from, actually, I'm responsible for that bit. That's on me.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that. And I think just that being comfortable knowing, this is who I am, this is where I've been, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not so good at, this is what I want to learn to be better at. All came from that. But just that one moment on that walk, that time where that huge strength came, that was the start of my happiness. I know a lot of people talk about happiness and what does it mean? And for me, it's joy. It's, seeing someone else be successful. It's that someone saying, Sam, here's that photograph that I was able to take my kids on that holiday because I worked with you. I found the confidence to do that. Sam, I've just won that client. Sam, look, I've just bought that car. And that to me is just utterly, utterly wonderful. I'm probably working harder than I've ever worked before, but right the way back from there to where I am today, that joy has grown, and I think I've grown with it. And there's still so much more to come, Annie.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. So one thing you said, Sam, that really brings me joy, and I love hearing it from people, is you are not a competitor, you're a collaborator, and you can celebrate other people's wins without feeling like, well, why did they get that? Why didn't I get that? And I really think that is such an important thing as a influencer, whether we're coaching or we're speaking, whatever. We got to be able to celebrate the wins of those around us, and we got to be truly, authentically excited for them. Another thing you said is I'm a big noticer. I was telling my husband this the other day. Sometimes people are nice, but they're only nice to the people they like and the people they deem valuable. But then I always notice, because I've been a waitress, I've been a cleaning lady, I've been a lunch lady, I've done a lot of things. How do they treat the people they decide aren't worthy? And it is so important to me to be kind to people, especially people that sometimes go unnoticed. And we live next door to a bar and restaurant, and we went over with a neighbor once, and two of the waiters came up and gave me a big hug, and my husband, and they're like, "What's up with you guys?" And we're like, we're really nice to them. We really love them. We really listen to their stories. We want to hear about their struggles and their successes. We don't just say, get me another this and do this. We really treat them intentionally with value. And there's so much joy at looking up at a cashier and a waitress and a coffee barista and seeing them, rather than just thinking, what can you do for me? But rather, how can I come here and connect with you and serve you? So I love that about you. And I love that you went on holiday. So do you have kids, Sam?
No, unfortunately not. We were trying, and we were told literally the night before my previous partner died, "You're ready to go." And so, the day he died, that went with him because of my age. I am blessed with a stepson, who I drive him potty.
As you
Um,
should.
Absolutely. And I sing when he's in the car as much as I can. All the cheesy 80s songs, which he just literally he buries his head with the shame of it all. But I'm sure deep down, if I tell him he loves me enough, he will.
How old is he?
He's 16. We have a great relationship.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a super, super young man. His dad's very proud of him, and
I
quite
love it.
rightly so.
And as he continues to age, you will just build that relationship. And someday he'll be singing and embarrassing you, and he'll be like, remember, I owe you. And that's where I have adult kids now, and they're circling back and trying to embarrass me. It doesn't work much, but it's fun to have them try. So, how about some lessons? What are, our listeners all have their own disruptions they're going through in their life. And what are some lessons you've learned through this journey of an abusive relationship, a sudden death, and new love and excitement? What are some of the lessons?
I think something that you've talked about earlier, Annie, just don't compare. You know that woe is me. Everyone's got something. Look at them, and I haven't. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Wake up every morning. You woke up. That's great. That's win number one right there.
Yeah.
And be kind to you. Listen to what your mind and body's telling you. There's only so much you can do, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I love music. I'm a big listener to lots of genres. But two songs that come to mind as you're saying this too is like the Garth Brooks Live Like You're Dying, right? We don't know. And this morning I heard the song, If You Get the Chance, Take It. And it was about call your mama, even if you don't feel like it, because you don't know when you can't, how much you wish you could. And we have some kids going through stuff right now. And I just think, what a gift. My husband says they shouldn't call in the middle of the night. And I say, I don't mind. Whenever I get to talk to my kids makes me happy because they all have their stuff and they go through their life. And so, as you look back, I love that you say self-love. I think it's so important to love ourselves first. It actually helps us be more loving and more generous to other people when we're filled up. Is there anything you wish you would have known or done before? I mean, you learn lessons after, and we can look back. Hindsight's 2020. But is there anything you would have done differently if you could have prior to the disruptions?
Excuse me. Anything I'd have done differently? The only thing, and it's not a wish, it's more an observation looking back,
Yeah.
and that is I wish I hadn't been such a people pleaser. I think I'd lost myself along the way a bit, just constantly being open and learning from others and maybe taking on too many of their traits rather than staying true to me. And I think that's the one thing, and it's something that I try and advise others. I'm not saying be disruptive in a negative way, but you can still be disruptive in a kind way, which is you do you. Totally fine with that, but that's not my bag.
Yeah. And partially, I think it's like that vulnerability of you get to know yourself through tragedy. I was just saying this week, some of my tightest friends in my life are people we've gone through hard stuff together, and it kind of bonds you for life. It kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm here for you. I get it. Now I've seen your messy, authentic self, and I'm really here for you. And maybe you learn that about yourself. Like you've gone through this tragedy of losing someone you love so much, so suddenly, no time to prepare. And you realize, wait a minute, I don't want to be superficial in even an ounce of a way. I want to be true to who I am. I want to have boundaries. I want to know who I am so I can show up my best for those closest relationships and serve my clients. So Sam, I'm wondering if you have a story about a client success that you'd like to share with our listeners, somebody you met that, no names, but just somebody you met and they were really going through something at work or whatever, and how you coached them, how you helped them, and what was the result of that.
Okay. And actually, it's someone who's still very much a work in progress. And so I'm working with them now.
Okay.
a very, very, very bright individual who is going through one hell of a time in their personal lives.
Mhm.
And I saw as soon as I spoke to them that they had such a heavy heart, and that unless they were kind to themselves, I could coach them as much as they needed in terms of building their business and everything else, but it wouldn't be enough. Um, so we had a very gentle and open conversation about what they were going through. And I said to them, I said, I can see the weight on your shoulders. What are you doing to have some fun?
Mm.
Oh, well, I'm not, Sam. I've got to make this work. I've got to. And I said, okay, let's change that to you will make it work. And I said, because I ain't leaving you till you do.
Mm.
And for the first time, they just beamed. I did what my accountant said only you would do, Sam. I'm glad you have, but I wish you wouldn't at the same time. I've paid for her and a friend to go to a spa because I just need them to have fun. I
Mm.
just need that self-care to start. She's a human being with a great future and opportunity ahead of her. I take that accountability really seriously.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I know this person will fly. I know they will have a very successful business, but right now I need to help them heal. That is not what I was here for, but I know I can help.
Mm.
So sometimes it's not just about the numbers, it's about the person and the whole. It's about helping them, put the mirror up and say, look, can you see what I see?
Yeah.
And then finally, when they do see what you see, they realize just what they're capable of and their worth. And then we get to work.
I feel like, Sam, you're going to have like 4,000 coaching clients after this call because they're going to be like, she sends you to the spa. I'm in. I want to go. I've sent my clients like chocolate and candles and a book, but never to the spa. I love that. But I understand what you were saying. She was in such a space that she didn't know to take time, and you had to show her. And I often talk about with accountability, we don't want to save or shame. We want to support. But in this case, you could believe in her. And that's what also so important is sometimes we lose belief in ourselves and we're so beaten down and then we're not performing at our best. She needed to have a moment of rest, a moment of fun, a moment of happiness so she could get back on track and be successful in her business. So that's a beautiful, beautiful story. And how is she doing now?
Yeah, so a lot better. The confidence levels are going up. The spas is this weekend. But a lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, oh. And it's just keep going, come on. And I just know that this one individual is born to fly. So looking forward to seeing it.
I love that. I love that story. It's beautiful. And I think we all are created with that in us. And it's so sad how many people lose sight and self-doubt and can talk themselves out of going and taking breaks, especially for those of us that are drivers, when we can just get up and work and work and work. It's like, wait a minute, I got to have a moment for fun. Like I had to fight with myself to not work on Sunday. And I was talking to one of my kids and he's like, don't you usually work on Sunday? I'm like, yes, but I shouldn't. If I teach other people to have boundaries and self-care, I need to take a day off. And it felt good. I had been busy for a number of weeks and I just needed a day to get off the computer for a minute. And it just, we need those reminders, right? Like get off, just play, watch some football, even though I don't care about it. Greg watches football. I take a nap. So Sam, I know people are going to love hearing your story and your heart. And I would never, ever describe you as a stoic person. I think you have a beautiful heart. And I think you have passion and drive to pour into other people because you do care for yourself. So what is the best way for our listeners to get a hold of you, reach out, learn more about you, connect with you? What's the best place to go?
Thank you, Annie. Probably LinkedIn. I am on there umpteen times a day and we've got a great community there. So I'm Samantha Eaton 1450. But if you just type in Sam Eaton Mindability, you'll find me. I'm the girl with the blonde hair and the green background. So go check me out. Come follow me. Come have a chat. Always open to connect. Love connecting people to one another. Love doing that.
Are you all over the US, or are you kind of Florida and the UK? Where are you?
All over the US, actually. So next trip out, we will be coming to Minneapolis. I'm talking at Disrupt HR Minneapolis on the 1st of November. Super excited. I spoke at Disrupt HR Washington, D.C. recently. And obviously you and I met at HR Collier.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of people at the moment saying, come to Denver, come to New York, and there's a bunch of us coming out to work Human next April in Houston, Austin, Texas, I believe. So yeah, we travel all over.
Awesome. Yeah, I did Disrupt Chicago a week or so ago, and I'm doing Disrupt Naples coming up in October. And that's a new thing to me, and people fly in from all over to do it. We had people in Chicago from New York and Boston and all over that came in, and yeah, pretty fascinating. That's awesome. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being with me, for sharing some of your wisdom. Please share in your in our comments on LinkedIn, maybe if you have 3 tips for your morning or your website or whatever you want to share. Please share that in the comments. Thank you to our listeners. Again, feel free to reach out with questions, comments to either Sam or I on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. We look forward to connecting with you in person at one of our speaking engagements. Great to see you, Sam, and we'll talk soon.
See you soon. Take care, Annie. Bye.